How's everyone doing today? It is Tristan,
Jackson,
and we are here with Sarah from the Calhoun County Recycling Center, and she is our guest tonight, and she's going to talk to us more about the special event that they're throwing this Saturday and what they do as a whole. So Sarah, can you tell us about you and what you do?
Okay. Well, I am the Calhoun County Solid Waste and Recycling Coordinator, and basically I run recycling programs and special collections for items that are harder to recycle for all the Calhoun County residents. So we are residential-based programs, not for businesses right now. It's just based on what our current Calhoun County solid waste plan is. That may change in the future, but it's everything from trying to get tires picked up and recycled to just your regular, newspaper, water bottle type recycling. So, okay. Broad spectrum.
So how did you personally get your start in this field of work?
Ironically, it's something that I wanted to do when I was in college, and I couldn't find any local job related to it. I had a friend that went to college in Chicago, and she did a really cool internship with public space recycling in Chicago through Cook County, and I went down there and visited her and thought it was really interesting and awesome, and I couldn't really find anything up here like that. So I have a Bachelor of Arts degree in Biology and Environmental Science and a Master of Science in Food Safety, and I actually was working as a sanitarian for the health department when this job came open, and I was encouraged to apply for it.
Awesome.
So I moved into the realm of recycling and composting at that time, and that was in late 2012.
Okay. So roughly, what's that? 7 years you've been doing this, son?
I know. I was like, I can't believe it's going so fast. But yeah, so it's 5, right?
I guess I can't
not
do
quite that much, but yeah. No, you're right, because it's 2019. You're right, yeah. 7. I just can't believe it.
I'm doubting myself.
Yeah, here I am.
Man, was it 5?
No, it's because I moved. Yeah, I shifted in 2017. They moved me from the health department to community development, and so it's a department where they had planned on putting recycling in the county, but everything kind of came into place where they were ready to hire a director for community development, and we moved everything together. So it's a bunch of programs that help residents out, so senior services, Veterans Affairs, okay, and 4-H, planning, parks and recreation. So it's just a bunch of different programs that residents can benefit from.
And you said that's countywide, not just city?
Nope, it's countywide, so okay, everyone can participate that belongs to our county.
So are those green and yellow recycling bins that everyone in the city got? Was that through you guys, or is that through?
That is through the city of Battle Creek. So municipalities can have something that's called a single hauler contract, and that is where they go out to bid with different trash and recycling haulers and try to get a really good rate, and then all the residents would be signed up to use that one single hauler. Battle Creek started to do that years ago. They had a lot of trash in people's yards and a rat problem, and going that route has really cleaned up the city, and so it's something that they've stuck with. And so people within the city of Battle Creek that rent a home that has less than 5 apartments, and then also that have a single family home, they get recycling, yard waste, and trash service through Waste Management.
Oh, okay, awesome.
So we like to push sustainability here. How important is it to recycle?
How important is it? Oh my goodness.
Let me list the ways.
I know, yes. Well, I just view all of our resources are very important, and I see a great value in reusing the resources that we've already harvested from the earth, rather than going at great depths to continue taking things out of the ocean, out of our mountains, growing trees for the sole purpose of cutting them down to make paper, when you already have paper out there that we can use several times and just keep moving it along. Every time, some things you can recycle indefinitely. Other items have kind of a lifespan. So paper, you can recycle it a few times, then it gets to the point where it's not quality. At that point, it can be made into Kleenex, paper toweling, napkins, toilet paper. But then, it can still be composted or broken down like through the wastewater treatment plant too. So it's not like it's becoming garbage in a landfill, if not necessarily if you have the right options to treat it in a way that it can be, turned into soil or something like that. So other items like aluminum and steel, those are indefinite. So you can just keep recycling them and making them into something new, and they don't get any weaker, and you don't have to add other material to them.
Awesome. Yeah. So what are some tips that you can give to people at home to either get better at recycling or composting or being sustainable?
Well, I think, at some point, like, people get kind of overwhelmed by it. When you look at some recycling programs, like my recycle center, we ask people to bring their stuff sorted, and so that means that they either have to go through and sort it before they bring it to us, or they have to have several containers to sort their things into. So some people get kind of overwhelmed with that. Other people don't want to hold on to it or think it's a hassle, but at the same time, the benefit is that we're not cutting down more trees, digging up more mountains, that kind of thing. So my key thing is don't start recycling everything. I like to just kind of encourage people to work their way into it. So maybe you start by recycling your water bottles, or you start by recycling your shopper. You start with a couple items that you're comfortable with, and then just work your way, just add things as you're comfortable with it, or you figure out how you're going to handle it, and don't overwhelm yourself with it.
So kind of just adjust your lifestyle to recycling, and then it's more normal. So it would go from just maybe glass bottles and choppers to everything. Maybe not everything, but 75% of your goods to recycling.
Yeah, so I kind of try to incorporate something new every year. So when I first took this job, I didn't recycle polystyrene, styrofoam. And then I found out, I hold collections for it. So I added that to what I do. And then it was, I wasn't really participating in the county's household hazardous waste collections. So then I started saving things like batteries and CFL bulbs and cleaners and stuff, medications, and bringing those to my events. And then I kind of worked my way up. And so now, like last year, I added a refillable coffee cup. So when I go to the coffee shop in Marshall, I have my refillable coffee cup. I get a cheaper price, and I get, for the same price as like a 16, 16 ounce, I get like 20 ounces of coffee. So, you get more for less, and you're not throwing things away. So I just kind of, just look at things, I try to remind myself to bring my reusable shopping bags into the store. Just start, small, I just kind of look at it as some type of a New Year's resolution that I add something, that I either recycle something new or I add a reusable into my lifestyle every single year.
That's a pretty good plan to live by.
Yeah. So are there any events where people can get into recycling?
Well, we do have our Recycle-Rama, which is a good start, especially for people that are trying to figure out how to get rid of some things that they don't want anymore or that don't work. And so Recycle-Rama is pretty awesome because I see you guys wear glasses too, but I had built up a huge pile of old frames, and the Host Lions Club collects those, and then they get fixed up and redistributed to people, so they get reused. So each year we collect around 200 glasses for them, so that's a pretty cool thing. And then appliances, that's another one. It's really hard for people once they're refrigerator and freezer, or if they have an air conditioner or dehumidifier. Those have refrigerant in them that it has to be removed, and it has to be tagged that it's safe to either go into a landfill or to scrap metal. And it's really hard to find people that are willing to come and tag your items to get rid of them. I didn't realize how hard it was. My vendor that I was using for my event retired, and we went to find someone new, and it was pretty difficult. I'm bringing in someone from the Grand Rapids area to actually do it. But so there's a lot of people that have things sitting around like old refrigerators and freezers, which can actually be kind of dangerous because kids have been known to get in those and shut it, and they get trapped inside. But it's a really good way to get rid of your stuff, and it's the whole thing is free, so there's no cost to get rid of the appliances, no cost to get rid of the refrigerant inside of them. We also do electronics, and so that is one where not even too long ago, there were lots of electronics collections because the vendors were getting a lot of money from recycling the metals inside of them.
Precious metals on the
and so
circuit boards.
things have changed, and there's less people dealing with like leaded glass. So the CRT TVs and computer monitors, their screens have lead in the glass. There's very few places in the world that process that, like only 1 or 2. And so that really drives market cost for things, and so it's not cheap. And so what happened was it went from like you got all this money from holding these events to like you didn't get any money, you didn't pay money, to you pay money, and now like a lot of vendors will charge you 20 to 45 cents per pound for TVs and computer monitors. Wow. So Best Buy used to take TVs for free, and now they charge $25 the last I checked, and you have a size limit that you can bring into them. So there's a lot of TVs that people have that they won't take, and so that's why you end up seeing TVs on the side of the road, is because people don't know what to do with them, you know. And so it's awesome to get rid of them in the right way. So this vendor also takes computers, and he'll either shred or wipe the hard drives clean, depending on whether it's something that he could potentially sell for reuse, or just strip it and recycle all the parts in it. So it's anything with batteries or a cord. And then we have our household hazardous waste vendor will be there. And so that would take care of chemicals, pesticides, fluorescent light bulbs, because they have mercury in them. We also do all sorts, like pool chemicals would be another one. We do automotive fluids, so oil, different gasoline, different fuel mixtures, antifreeze, brake fluid, that kind of thing. Small propane tanks, so like if you have like a gas grill or you have a camp stove, that's a place to get rid of those. Fire extinguishers. We bring in the Substance Abuse Council, and they kind of plan for us to do a medication take back, and so we have everything in line that people can bring their old medications, whether they're prescription or over the counter, and those will get processed and destroyed appropriately. And we take sharps too. So there's a lot of people, they get a sharp container, or they get, get told they have to take insulin. They don't know what to do with the sharps, or they get containers and containers, and what do you do with them? And so we just ask that people put them in some, like a rigid plastic container, like a laundry detergent bottle, and bring them to the event, and then we take care of them. So not to throw them away. It's something that even some pharmacies say, like put them in a hard plastic container and throw them in your garbage. But what happens is then, like, the garbage trucks compact the material and it bursts open, and then you've got sharps all through it. And it's a pretty, it's a job hazard for trash and recycling haulers. And so because the recycling ends up getting processed, and so some people think like, well, I put all this in my laundry detergent bottle, so I should put it in recycling, and then people get stuck. It's kind of scary, and that's not anything that anybody would want to have to go through. So too many diseases out there, so we just try to get people to bring them in, just put them in something safe and bring them into our event, and we take care of them.
So where is Recycle-Rama going to be?
It is at Bailey Park, and it runs from 9 to 1. And I mean, it is very popular. So last year we had like 881 vehicles pass through.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. That's a lot. And I really think that it might be even larger this year. So we've been kind of talking about that. The Battle Creek Police are involved in the planning of the event. I work with the city of Battle Creek on it. They help. They donate use of Bailey Park, and they share staff with me for the event because it benefits a lot of the city residents. But it's a huge event. We kind of start planning almost immediately after we hold the year before. So, but we're looking forward to another event. And I would be surprised, especially with the weather forecast we have right now, that we don't have over 900 vehicles go through.
It's supposed to be really nice on Saturday.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. It's it's just kind of something you don't really think about. Like, you use batteries every single day and a lot of stuff, but then a lot of people just toss them in the garbage. Or I know at work, I work at the Federal Center, they have big tubs that they just collect all the batteries in because they get them recycled. Yeah. And stuff like that. Yeah, and it's kind of neat with the batteries because they can get the metal out of it. And then I should also add, like, lithium batteries.
those are very important to handle carefully. Those really should come in. Yes, and so it's really important that people put tape on the positive end of those, because they can explode and react, and so they still have a lot of charge left, and then when they stop operating the device that they were inside, and if you were to like drive over it, or it got crushed in a garbage truck, then it could explode and catch on fire. So we're trying to get a little bit more education out to people about that, because those are all things that end up impacting the cost of your garbage and recycling hauling because of insurance claims and that type of situation. Just don't want to hurt people anyway. So
do you encourage people to collect all these things throughout the year and then come to Recyclorama and recycle it, or is there a way to throughout the year give these items to you guys?
This is like our big like kind of catch-all event. We do have 3 other household hazardous waste collections. And we do, like I left off polystyrene too. So we take polystyrene at Recyclorama. Polystyrene is styrofoam number 6, and so that's meat trays, the coffee cups, takeout containers, and then the coolers that you can get like your medication shipped in. And then some packaging material, not construction foam and not peanuts. But the majority of it is that.
So like the stuff, like if you bought a TV, that stuff that's inside the TV.
Yeah, the little pebbly, things. And so how it works is that Dark Container, they're located in Mason, Michigan, and they will come do events that are with 100 miles of Mason. And so they haul it back and they process it and they turn it into little plastic beads, and it gets molded into something, not a food container right now, but it gets molded into plastic so it can be reused to something else.
Okay. And then it can be recycled again.
Yeah, because it becomes plastic. It becomes a plastic number 6, and so with that's something we take at our Marshall and Albion Recycling Center every single day that we're open. So we try to get people to like think about what they have and what's their best fit. In August, we do an electronics and polystyrene collection with the city of Battle Creek at their Department of Public Works building. So it's just kind of like, oh, do I just have, this item? So medication, a lot of medications you can take to like a red med box that are located at law enforcement buildings. There's one at the hospital here in Battle Creek too, at the pharmacy, and so that's one of those things where it's like, do I want to wait? Should I wait in line an hour to get rid of this? Now, if you have like a whole bunch of stuff, then this event is like great. Like if you have some electronics and an appliance and some polystyrene and some battery, this is a really great event. We've had people sit in line for an hour that just had like a little tiny baggie of medication or like 5 batteries. Probably not the best fit for them. And so that's just one of the things to really like think about. Should I go to just a household hazardous waste? Should I go to the event at the DPW in August as electronics and polystyrene? Oh, do I just have polystyrene? And we are seeing more people with polystyrene that are choosing to go to the Marshall and Albion Recycling Center, since they can go there 2 or 3 days a week.
Go there whenever.
Yeah, and get rid of it. So we're trying to get the word out and get people to understand, that don't wait in line for an hour to get rid of, a small bag of batteries, that there's other options that might work a little bit better for their schedule and time.
So you said you have a Marshall location and an Albion one. Is there a recycle center in Battle Creek?
Well, because Battle Creek has the curbside recycling, and then they also, through their contract with Waste Management has a drop-off recycling center that's at their transfer station, which is off at Dickman Road out in the industrial park here. And so we don't do any recycle center in the Battle Creek area. We do pay Republic Services for access for Calhoun County residents to use. There's a recycling center at the landfill. And that's just because some of the townships, it's a little bit closer for them. And then also the nice thing with that recycle center is it's open 6 days a week. So Marshall Recycle Center is open Tuesdays and Thursdays from 10 to 6, and then the 3rd Saturday of the month from 9 to noon. And then the Albion Recycle Center is open Mondays from 9 to noon and Wednesdays from 10 to 6, and the 1st Saturday of the month from 9 to noon. So we try to kind of give people different options, and then if that doesn't work, then you can go to the recycle center at the landfill, and try to keep it. I don't know. I think it's kind of nice to have options. Albion and Marshall requires sorting. Sorting doesn't meet everybody's lifestyle. Maybe it's easier just to put your stuff in a paper bag and go put it at the landfill recycle center. It just recycle whatever, works for you.
However you can, just do it.
Do it, yeah. So I personally have subscription-based curbside, and then I also bring stuff with me to work to recycle at the recycle center. The stuff that I know has higher value that I want to make sure makes it on to be recycled for sure. When you sort things mechanically, like the stuff that gets picked up curbside, it goes to something called a material recovery facility. And so it gets dumped out and then loaded with a front end loader on like a conveyor belt, and it goes through all these different machines that use magnets and blow air on it and shake it and separates everything out. It's not 100%. They keep trying to make it better, but that's still not going to be perfect. So when we sort things in Marshall or in Albion, it's like we have a clear bag, and you can see that you have like 99% milk jugs or 99% water bottles. And so then that doesn't need to be sorted again. That just goes and it gets dumped out, and a whole bunch of bags get combined together, and they squish them into a bale. And then that's ready to be sold. And people can look at it and see that it's 99% milk jugs or 99% water bottles, and they pay more for that because they're not buying contamination.
Not buying 75% plastic. Well, so I guess one other question. So in Calhoun County, since you've started, have you seen recycling rise? Just like in general?
Yeah, participation in like our recycling centers and then in our events. Generally, it has trended up, yeah. So, it's nice to see something grow. It's kind of interesting since we are kind of, in the middle of the state. We're not a really liberal area. We're not a major, college town. So it's kind of an interesting, thing to have here. But I like it because, people care about recycling. It doesn't matter if you're Republican or Democrat. There seems to be a real good consensus here that people want to recycle and do the right thing. So my program is actually, it's not funded with tax money. It's not through the general fund with the county. The county actually has something called a host agreement with the landfill. And so I think it's important that people understand that landfills do have a role and a purpose, and they're not, bad or evil, that they do serve. Not everything can be recycled. And, modern landfills they're designed and inspected and monitored quite a bit to make sure that they don't cause problems like leaking and seepage and groundwater contamination. And so basically all the trash that goes into the landfill, there's one in Calhoun County, it's in Convis Township. The landfill has to pay the county a certain amount of money per ton. And so that the county takes that money, it goes into a special account, and that funds my program. So that funds the recycle centers and all the special collections that we do. So
the landfills directly fund recycling.
Yes.
Well, that's always good.
Yes, and so that's kind of a cool, tidbit on it too.
Yeah, that is a little bit of trivia there that not everyone would, because I wouldn't have assumed that. And actually, it kind of ends up saving them money because it's less they're putting into the landfill, so it's less they have to pay. So they're helping themselves by encouraging recycling.
It prolongs the use of the landfill, and it kind of helps make sure that the stuff going into the landfill is the right stuff going into the landfill. A lot of trash hauling companies own the landfills. They're concerned about worker safety. They're also concerned about not putting things that are going to put them at a greater risk of contamination. So there's a lot of interest with the landfills about keeping like electronics out of them. And especially like lithium batteries, because lithium batteries can cause fires, at landfills too.
Fire at the landfill.
So they have they have a vested interest in it as well. So they just see it as, trying to keep landfills for what landfills need to be used for.
That makes a lot of sense. That's not something I would have just immediately, thought of. So that's some pretty good info.
So where can people online or anything find more information on what they can recycle or where they can recycle? Like, is there a website?
Waste Management does have a special website for residents in the city of Battle Creek, so they can see what they need to put into their recycle cart. I think that's one thing that they're trying to work on right now, and they're changing up their recycling program a bit just because their contamination levels got kind of high, and it caused an increase in the cost of recycling, so they dropped down. So now instead of being every week, recycling is every other week. Yeah. And a lot of that has to do with people putting plastic bags in their recycling, like bagging their recycling in garbage bags, or just putting grocery store bags. Yeah. And those can't be processed through recycling centers. In fact, some recycling processing plants, if your recycling goes through in a garbage bag, they pick it up and just throw it away, and they don't even look at it. So, but another problem is people put polystyrene in, and that's something that I can take at my centers, but that can't go into your curbside cart because that has a special place that it has to go. And so,
one place in Mason.
In Mason, yeah. So the curbside stuff in Battle Creek actually gets hauled to Chicago, and so that opportunity doesn't exist there for that material. Okay. So that's one thing. For me, I have a website called www.calhouncountyrecycling.com. And then there's also the Calhoun County Recycling Facebook. So we tried to keep information up on there so people can get flyers or see when the events are. Pretty soon we're going to have our scrap tire collections posted. I'm just waiting on a couple of details just to get a couple of things tidied up. Right? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, so one last question about the curbside.
Mm-hmm.
What are the basic things that you can put into your curbside recycling?
Well, the most valuable things that you can put into your curbside recycling would be tin cans, aluminum. So like if you drink like juice or like tomato juice, some cat food containers, rinse them out really good. That's the important thing too. Everything really should be rinsed out and dry before you put it in your recycle container. Water bottles, milk jugs, laundry detergent bottles, and then like cardboard. It's best if you can break it down just because it takes up less space. Yeah. Office paper and newspaper, magazines. Those are pretty good. Glass is kind of a touchy item because there's not a good market for glass right now, and when you put glass in curbside, it ends up getting broken in the truck, and so little pieces of glass will get on other things and kind of lower the value of them. Okay. I know it's a hard one, so it's a topic that there's a lot of work in trying to figure out how can we get more glass recycled and what's a better way to recycle glass. So that's a subject that even at like the state level and the national level, we're trying to figure out what can we do better with glass. Another thing is mixed plastic. So your yogurt, sour cream, those type of containers. A lot of like your dairy, the dairy containers, and then like your bakery type containers. Those are a little bit more challenging too. So anything that has like a 3, 5, 7, and 6s, like your solo cups. Those are tricky ones that some programs aren't taking anymore. Some may only take yogurt containers. It's something that you just want to kind of stay in tune with what your program is taking. There's not as high of demand for those to be made into anything. There is a company in Canada that's relatively close to Michigan that does take a lot of Michigan's mixed plastic and go and make it into a resin over there. But that still doesn't solve, a nationwide recycling issue. Part of it is just we had this big philosophy about just like recycle as much as you can and recycle everything and just put it in there. And what happened was that like China, they would import recyclables to manufacture things. And so like 40% of what China took actually like came from the United States, and they were like picking things out of it and then landfilling a lot of the material. And so the Chinese government kind of cracked down and said, why are we throwing away other countries, other people's garbage, And so they've changed their rules, and so now they limit contamination and recycling the comes into their country to 0.5% contamination, and it's very, very hard to reach that.
So that's why sorting is really important.
That is why sorting is really important. Very little curbside recycling from the United States is making it into China because the mechanical sorting just isn't enough. Yeah.
That's all I have. You have
That's
anything
all
else?
Yeah.
Did you have anything else? What's the last pitch?
Well, I was just going to throw in a little bit about your composting, and so I was just going to talk briefly about that.
Yeah.
So basically, composting, and I know that a lot of restaurants are looking into using, different compostable products. I'm looking to see what you have. Like, I know a lot of these. Is this one of those sustainable type cups? Yep, certified compostable, and that's a big one. And so, like, if a restaurant wants to definitely compost their stuff, there's a difference between biodegradable and compostable, and it's something that will be worked on in the future to make people understand it more clear. But you definitely want to make sure that that what you're using is compostable containers. The hard part is that to take all these compostable products and break them down, they need to go to a commercial composter. A commercial composter has a composting operation that they manage, very in-depth management of that facility. And so you're talking like some weekly, they're going through and turning the material. And so there are a few commercial composting facilities in the state of Michigan. I would like to bring one into Calhoun County. That's something that I really have in my goals and a list of things that I would like to see. I know that the Kellogg company, their headquarters, that they do composting with their kitchen waste from their cafeteria. And there's restaurants across the West Michigan that do that too. There's a few vendors that will do it. It's just the problem right now is that you're talking like a 40-mile haul,
or something.
And that adds the cost up and makes it harder for smaller businesses to be able to do something like that. But there is a lot of benefit to, especially for a coffee shop, and the coffee grounds are like awesome and amazing. And then when you have like wood products like what you have too, that are very easily, converted into a nice soil amendment, fertilizer, and so that is something that is just try to get people to understand. Is like a lot of places will be like, hey, go to the extra mile to do something, but then if you don't have the way
to actually do
it, what is the most cost effective, thing that you should do? And so I run into a lot of people that hate polystyrene cups, but like I can recycle that, those I know can get recycled. And so it's just one of those things where it's like connecting the dots and making sure that people understand. I think there's a big disconnect that a lot of people think if they put like a compostable container in a landfill, it's going to compost, but that's not how landfills really work. So, you just it's one of those things where we just need to get these services that are out there that are more readily available, like in the Lansing area or around Grand Rapids and Ann Arbor area too, move them a little bit more across the state of Michigan so more people can access it and take care of their items. I personally collect my kitchen scraps and take them out to my compost pile and compost my coffee grounds and eggshells and vegetable waste and things like that, because I think it's the right thing to do. Plus, it makes my garbage a lot less stinky too.
That's true.
But it's just one of those things. It's just understanding. I know a lot of businesses have switched over to the sustainability cups, and then they throw them all in the garbage can. And so that's just like one of those things that I just want people to understand. If you throw it in the garbage can, it doesn't matter if you've used one of the blended cup material cups, a regular paper cup, a sustainability cup, or a polystyrene cup. It's one of those things where you have options that can get you someplace. And so like Dart Container does have containers that you can put coffee cups in and pay to ship them back to Dart, and they recycle them. So there's other options. And then Dart also, because what they require for their program, we do take some material from businesses when it comes to polystyrene, so we do have like a few vet offices that bring us their shipping coolers for us to process too. But it's just trying to figure out what is the best solution for what you want, And I understand and I know, and there's, you know, there's lots of places in this area that would like to be able to get into composting and, you know, kitchen type waste composting and stuff. So I think that's a cool way to go, and a new avenue that I would like to see open up here in our county.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, hopefully we can get that going soon.
I really hope so. I mean, because you can even take things like produce from like a Horrocks, because they go through, you know, they have a lot of produce there, and they also do food. You know, cafeterias at some of the larger companies, hospitals can take the food that, you know, that they have too. So there's a lot of everything from manufacturers, cafeterias, restaurants, you know, and even farms that you can get into, you know, composting the organic matter. And the way that the DEQ is looking at it is that capturing those organics, they're including it in recycling now. And so it actually boosts our recycling rate if we can collect organics and compost them. So it's kind of an exciting time.
Yeah. It's a little added value for you. To say, well, you know, more people will recycle if we can do this. Pretty good info.
It is, yeah.
So I think that's all we have.
Okay.
So, yes, Saturday, Recycle-rama.
Yes. 9 to 1. Yeah, yep. Bailey Park. And then enter, we work really close with the police, and so they are wanting people to approach Bailey Park on Emmett Street, so heading west. So you may have to drive all the way down to like Raymond Road and turn around and come back, but they're only going to let people do right turns from Emmett onto Wagner Drive.
Okay, that's good.
Yep.
All right, perfect. Yeah, so Saturday, go down there. You got anything to recycle, go do that. And I think that's it from us here tonight.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for taking time out of your day to come down here and teach us all about recycling.
Oh, thank you for having me.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us tonight. That's going to be it from us. And it's Saturday. Go down there, do some recycling. And that's it. Take it easy.